Let it go, let it go. I'm one with the wind and sky. Let it go, let it go. You'll never see me cry. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. Genshin players doesn't bother me anyway. I know, that was cringe, but you know, YouTube copyright. You might be wondering how I walk on water or how I LSAT. Well, today we're going to talk about bond system, aka relationship system, aka in the game they call Simulacra Trait. I learned about this only yesterday by my friend Darko. I always thought the passive bond skill or trait Simulacra Trait will activate when you get the bond to a certain level while using the weapon. However, I turned out to be wrong, so it's good, I've been enlightened. But first, basic. As usual in this game, you pull for weapons and it comes with the character. Characters are cosmetic. However, they have this little bond system at the second panel over here. Here, you view all the information about the character, their passive stats for bonds, their information, their lore, you can give them gift to raise their bond, and then basically you can also check out their voice line, which is pretty cool. But we will focus on gift only, how to get them, and each character passive trait, and as we go on, I will be ranking their trait and what's its best in some situation. I'm going to be only talking about the SSR character, as the SR characters are not much worth mentioning, but if you want to check them out, you can go to Ida Cafe. They've actually provided all this information, which is pretty useful, so make sure that, you know, I still really don't know how to thank them. This bond trait will not be effective in the ranked PvP, meaning all this passive skill is not going to be effective in the ranked PvP, so it only applies to PvE and unranked open world PvP. Keep in mind that some of this passive requires you to actually equip the weapon for effectiveness, such as Frigg, because without the ice field, it will not turn her into a Super Saiyan. Character like Meryl's skill will not need her weapon equipped. As you can see right here, I don't have Meryl weapons, but I have her Simulacra Trait, so I can walk on ice just anytime I want. Each character will have level 1 bond at 1200 point and level 2 at 4000 point. Of course, you can raise this point by giving them gifts, and each character actually has their own favorite gift. And again, if you want to know what's their favorite gift, you can actually check out Ida Cafe. They have actually listed out those favorite gifts for those characters. Now, where do you get this gift? Now, I'm not gonna mention most ways, just pay attention to where to get them, but the most often way that you will be getting them is through your joint operation, and by getting a blue crystal and a purple crystal, you'll be able to exchange it in the shop for, well, gift box, and you can open up and select them. Some they'll give you random, but most of them will allow you to select what gift you want to get. So you can actually refer to Ida Cafe before picking up the gift you want to give your character. If you watch my equipment videos, you realize you do need purple crystal as well to purchase the crystal to level up equipment. So however you manage it, I honestly leave it up to you. Do you want to focus on equipment first, or do you want to focus on Simulacra Trait? Honestly, I would recommend focusing on Simulacra Trait first for the one you want, because again, weapon is going to be RNG. I mean, equipment is going to be RNG. I only have 2 bond maxed out, which is Meryl for content and Frigg for Bygone Phantasm. So in order to equip this Simulacra Trait, just go to the imitation slot, and on top of the mimicry state, you see this little star over here? You can only equip 1. So just tick that little star and then you already equip the Simulacra Trait. You can only equip 1 Simulacra Trait only. You cannot turn on Simulacra Trait for characters you have not unlocked their bond yet at 1200 points at least. Once done, you'll notice there's a little golden orb with the characters engraved. That means you have already equipped that Simulacra Trait. So without further ado, I'm going to go unscripted over here for the remaining of the videos. So maybe the videos might be a little bit short, so let's go. Okay, let's start off with our boy Zero here first. So at level 1, bond, when Zero uses a weapon skill, which is that skill. Oh yeah, before I forgot, it mentioned that Zero over here, but it doesn't necessarily you have to use Zero. You can use any character, just equip the Simulacra Trait to it, and that's it. Because even in my main character, or even with Ruby, I can still walk on ice so long as I've got the trait up. Reduce cooldown time for relic in cooldown by 1.5 seconds. Can only activate for the same weapon 1 time every 5 seconds. So if you got 3 weapons and you got 3 skills, you'll be able to reduce the cooldown by 15 seconds, which is actually quite useful. But when it comes to relic, it's really not that useful. It depends on you, but in my opinion, our relics are not that urgent when it comes to PvE. But I don't know about open world PvP, is that gonna be a thing to everyone? But again, I think this is okay. I rank it at B, and it's best for anyone who think they really want relics. Tsubasa is more for the DPS one. I rank this at S. So let's take a look at all the way to level 2 immediately. We're gonna summarize everything at level 2. It's much easier to focus. So each time you deal damage, gain 1 stack of fierce attack up to 1 stack per second. Each stacks at 0.6 attack up to 30 stacks. Refreshes effect during upon gaining the effect again. So I really don't know how to say think about this. It's really hard to explain. How do I put it? You gain 1 stack of fierce strike up to 1 stack per second. Each stacks add to 0.6, so you get up to 30. And yeah, you gotta do the math over here. But I guess it's as I don't know. If it's really what I think it is, and it refreshes effect during upon gaining the effect again. The effect lasts for 30 seconds. So is this good or not? I don't really know because I've never tested out. Resources are limited, so maybe I'll change it. I'll rank it at A. I really don't know about this. Because Shiro over here is actually pretty good for the melee class. So when Shiro uses a weapon skill or a discharge skill, meaning your switching skill or ultimates, increase all kinds of attack by 16% and physical attack by additional 10% for 8 seconds, a cooldown of 16 seconds. Now this is good because it's very useful for anyone who wants to main physical. You get around 26%, and it has 8 seconds cooldown. It lasts for 8 seconds and then 16. So basically, it has a 8 seconds cooldown, right? Or the cooldown ends. So I really can't test it out. So if you got Shiro, don't be sad. At least her Simulacra Trait is not so useless. So I'll honestly have to. If you're gonna main physical, I think this is going to be an S rank. But if you main other class, this is just A. Okay, Samir, at level 2, grant 1 stack of concentration for every 4 seconds. When Samir receives no damage, each stack increase damage dealt by 4%, and it can stack up to 5 times. So you're gonna increase by, I think, 20%. After being hit, Samir loses 1 stack. Okay, up to 1 stack per 2 seconds. Again, I don't really know how this works. The stacky thing, it's actually quite confusing. But if I read this right, and if you can increase up to 20% and just avoid not being, so it's not ideal. This is more for DPS character, because if you're a tank, you're gonna mostly get attacked. So I think this will be useful. I will put this as A rank. Oh, so far, so all these are gonna be random. So we've got Saki Fuwa right now. Now this is where it's easy to understand. When health is below 70%, gain 40% all elemental resistance and on additional 60% ice resistance. So this is very useful if you're fighting ice bosses. So very great. You don't even need her weapon to activate this. So when blocking with Silent Flow, provide 3 blocks to the teammate with the lowest health for 10 seconds, excluding yourself for 10 seconds. The block amount will not exceed 15% of the teammate's maximum health. Now, this is actually good if you're taking on ice bosses. Now, we do have ice bosses or ice robots, so this will be very useful. And it seems to be more of a tanking. So this is best for tank, and I will rate this at S if you're an S rank ice tank. This is very useful. Now let's move on to rubies. Alright, so rubies at level 2. Enemies within 5 meters of Dolly, which is her doll, receive 8% more flame damage. Does not stack after throwing Dolly. Now this is very good. So you have to max this out if you want to do this for PvE. After throwing Dolly, increase flame attack by 12% for 10 seconds. Does not stack. I don't know if there's a cooldown for this, but after 10 seconds you can just throw Dolly again. So it's within 5 meters. So you have to go like melee style. So this is really good for fire main, and again I will rate this as S rank for PvE. This is wonderful. Now all these are basically going to be focusing on PvP, alright? Alright, next we have Nemesis. When Electrode is summoned, all enemies within 30 meters of the Electrode take damage equal to 100% of your world attack, and all allies, including yourself, are healed for 200%. Now if you're gonna main healer, reading from this is definitely an S, and it's really good for healer. So if you want to be healer, save for Nemesis. Okay, next off we have Meryl. Very simple. I think I showed you already. So let's go to level 2. Reduce frost damage received by Meryl by 25%. Gain immunity to the frostbitten effect, meaning you won't be frozen. You won't be frozen. Rather, frostbitten means that if you got freeze and someone break you, you'd receive more damage, so you're immune to that. And reduce duration of being frozen by 50%. In the China server, you'll be able to walk on ice, but I don't think in the global you will be able to do that, as is shown right here. So if they do remove that effect from global, I'm not gonna be very happy. I have to point this out because I think if global players do complain, maybe she'll be able to walk on ice. I hope it comes out during the global release, But let's not get too feisty first. This was the CBT, so calm down. Okay, we have Marc, which is another limited collect character only for CN. I don't think he's coming to global, but we still have hope. So when Marc takes lethal damage from an enemy, he survives the attack and is granted resurrection, so he's alive. Provoking the surrounding enemies for 5 seconds during resurrection, Marc cannot perform any action, does not take damage, recover 2% HP every second, and healing received is increased by 50%. This effect has cooldown of 10 minutes, so you cannot die before 10 minutes again. Damage from stinging eel, and okay, this is not important, this is more of the collab monsters. So this is very useful for dungeons, not open worlds, because some boss knock you can still be revived, but some boss, when they knock you with some specific skill, you just die immediately. So this is actually very useful. But again, 10 minutes, it's a bit long, so I don't think you'll be able to trigger this twice. So A rank and best for tankers. Okay, let's move to Ling. Ling has this little, aberration field, and when you have her at level 2, her Night Bloom explosion damage increased by 20% from the aberration element. Night Bloom explosion reduces all elemental resistance of the affected target by 7% only for 7 seconds. This effect cannot stack. Again, it's great to have AoE that does damage for you, so I will rate this around. And then it's best for basically anyone. Okay, King is actually quite interesting, alright? So every five enemies killed by King restore HP equal to 10% of HP. So this is very good for AoE, but not very good for boss fights. So this is pretty cool for PvE or maybe some sort of frontier clash or tower defense. Or this is great. This is great. So in some situation for tower defense or AoE, or there's a lot of mobs, then this will be A plus. Can't rate it as S because it's not useful for boss fight, right? So it's good for solo players as well. Huma is actually quite interesting. So each time Huma receives damage, gain 1 fortitude mark and gain 1 more fortitude mark if it's a flame damage. So you get 2 if you get flame damage. Up to 1 time per 1 second and 12 stacks in a total. Upon using a weapon skill, use all fortitude mark and gain an HP shield equal to the number of marks. So it's the more mark you get, the more shield you will have. I'm not sure if you need her weapons for this, but it feels like you don't need it. So long as you have a weapon skill, you'll be able to trigger this. So I would rate this as a more of a tanker thing and more of a survivability thing. So I think when you're fighting fire boss, this could be S, but if you're fighting normal boss, this could be easily just an A for me. So again, good for tanker that has very short skill cooldown. So maybe you can slap some physical. Physical has short cooldown. But again, I don't know how to feel about this because there's like Lyra and Marc. I don't know if Marc is coming global. So yeah, there you go. Alright, Frigg 1 looks really good. So when entering combat, Frigg gains 2.4% ice attack, not a lot, every 3 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. So 10 times, that is a lot. Frigg is immune to CC, basically knockdown effect while in the frozen domain. Now this is very good for Bygone Phantasm because you have to solo it. So this is actually pretty awesome. So I'll have to rank it at S, and it's best for Ice Team and basically anyone, but Ice Team will benefit this more. Crow. When Crow is not in team play, basically for anyone who likes Kirito, increase damage dealt by 10%, and which is a lot, and reduce damage. Pretty good early game if you got him. And reduce damage received by 6%. When Crow enters combat, increase damage dealt by 12% for 12 seconds. So it goes up to 22 seconds. And it's 10% always when you're not in a team play if you're solo, but go up to 22%. But if you're in a team play, it goes up to 12% only and lasting for 12 seconds. And then they didn't specify the cooldown again. Coco Ritter. When you're using a support type weapon, the effect of healing and receiving healing are increased by 12%. And when the discharge skill or the ultimate is triggered or weapon skill is triggered, of the support type weapon are used, the attack of the friendly armies around you will increase by 15% and last for 5 seconds. I don't get it. The attack of the friendly armies, the friends, are you talking about my friends increase? So my friends will get an increased attack by 15%. So it's not enemy, alright? It's not army. So it's your comrade. Cobalt-B is also very interesting. When Cobalt-B release a discharge skill, restore 90 to 180 points of the energy for the ultimates again. So this is more for someone who likes to gamble. This is really RNG. It's really RNG. So it's really up to you, but it's actually really good. I don't think, yeah, when you release the ultimate skill, when you release an ultimate skill, it restore a random energy. So this is very good for fast charge. I have to put this at A+ or S. This is really good for DPS. Claudia is a little bit underwhelming. I have to rate this at, I don't know, it has to be C. So you disappear for 1 second after dodging, or 1.5 second at level 2 after dodging. I don't know. I don't know. Is it useful? Oh, I'll leave it up to you guys. So I'll put it at B-. Alright. We got Bai Yuekui, another China limited character. We don't know if it's coming to global. So when Bai Yuekui enters combat, increase thunder volt attack by 33%, decreasing over period of 120 seconds. If I don't know, they never mentioned a cooldown again. So when Bai enters combat, your thunder damage increased by 33%, and as the cooldown, as the buff goes on and reaching its timer for the cooldown, then it will decrease as it goes. The effect can be reset after 5 seconds out of combat. Oh, okay, so if you get out of combat, and then you engage again, then you'll be able to trigger this again. So you have to get out of combat for 5 seconds and then go in and then trigger the 33%. So it's like if you're entering a very long combat, I don't think this is very useful. So very difficult. I think this is very difficult. So this is easily a B for me, a B, but very useful for Thunder. But 33 is very high for a Simulacra Trait. But I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys. I'll have to leave this at B. Best for Thunder only, and the one below just ignore it. It's more for the PvE for the Linglong gauge.